A few weeks ago, Nintendo announced a sobering reminder of the future. They will be shutting down the 3DS and Wii U Online Spot Pass servers in about 6 months. I feel like we need to put these consoles out on a high note, remembering back to all of the features and experiences that we've had that will soon be lost. The problem with that is, I never actually owned a Wii U, and I still don't. And even though I have a 3DS, there are plenty of games that I just never got to play online or haven't really had interest in. So I really can't cover the full breadth of what we're losing. But thankfully, I have friends. I got together a bunch of people who are really passionate about the last generation Nintendo consoles to talk about their favorite games that will be losing functionality in the near future. You can find their associated YouTube and Twitch links in the description, so if you like what they have to say, I urge you to go and check out their other content. Some of these are people we featured on the channel before, while others are newcomers, but all of them bring a unique perspective, and I'm really glad to have them.
Hi there, I'm Petter from the Umami Manga podcast. I'm here to talk about my favorite multiplayer game on the 3DS. In fact, it's one of my favorite multiplayer games on any console ever. I'm talking about The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes. When it comes to the story and lore, this game is nothing special, but when it comes to the gameplay, it really shines. Of course, there exists a pretty specific prerequisite for being able to experience that amazing gameplay, and that is having exactly 2 friends to play the game with. This can be a struggle, it certainly has been for me at times. But once you've got the required co-players, you're in for a hell of a ride. In the early worlds of the game, it's pretty common for the players to all get the same item to use throughout the stage. But getting a bit further into the game, it kind of becomes the standard for all 3 players to use different items, and I love that because it makes your abilities unique and each player's role feels really special. Forming totems together to solve puzzles is a lot of fun, but I think totems are even more fun during battles where the players have to pick each other up in various ways to beat the enemy. I love this because it often becomes rather chaotic with players frantically chasing after one another to pick each other up, or accidentally throwing each other off ledges because they're panicking. I'll always remember this game for the crazy moments like those. I've been fortunate enough to have spent many hours playing this game with friends. I've unlocked all the outfits and completed nearly all of the Drablins challenges, so even though it's sad that the online playability is disappearing, at least I'm glad I've been able to experience most of what this game had to offer. Last thing I'll say is that I think it would be lovely to see a new Zelda game like this someday, because very few games had made me laugh as much as The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes.
Hey guys, this is David and Jordan from the Nintendo Fusion podcast. We thought we'd share just a couple of our thoughts about the Wii U and 3DS online system and a couple of the games that we remember the best about that. Jordan, why don't you go ahead and talk about the game that you liked the best?
So when I think about like online with the Wii U and the 3DS, the first game that comes to mind is Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. Even though it was technically a port from the Wii, this was where I first played Monster Hunter and where I fell in love with the franchise, largely because of online. Online is the way Monster Hunter is meant to be played. You play it with your friends. And the game is still exclusive to just the Wii U and 3DS. So with the online play going away, we're not going to be able to have that anymore with Monster Hunter 3. And Monster Hunter 3 is unique in that it's the only Monster Hunter game to have water combat, which is a controversial form of play. So I don't imagine it's going to ever return. But I actually have nostalgia for that style of play, and I am going to miss it.
Yeah, and I don't really have any memories of Monster Hunter, but I do recall all of the conversations you and I have had about how much Monster Hunter means to you in general. And having one of those games with unique styles go away is really disheartening. As for me, my memories are the best with Splatoon. It's one of the few games that I really played on my own instead of just with friends. And I just really loved how colorful, how interesting all of the different weapon choices were, the different type of game modes that you had to play, and Turf Wars with the Splatfest were just so much fun. And it's such a shame that an entire game of Splatoon is gone. We've had a couple returning maps with Splatoon 3 and I guess partially Splatoon 2, which are available on Switch still, but we'll never get those original fun maps and weapons and super ridiculous balancing with all of the different abilities. And I'm gonna miss that. It was really something special.
My name's Ilya, and I'm just gonna go over why Fire Emblem Fates for the 3DS is gonna dip in quality now that the online services are ending. So It's really had a unique place in the Fire Emblem series in that you could do a lot with friends in it because of the online services. You could go for the first time ever, go and just recruit a bunch of your friends' avatars and just play through the game with them. And it was a lot of fun, and it made the game have its own sort of niche in the series. And now that that's going to be going away, it kind of bums me out. It's pretty sad. The only other thing really to talk about is that a lot of people kind of sharked their games and hacked in extra skills and items and weapons and stuff they shouldn't have had access to. And Nintendo had absolutely nothing in place to stop that. And so it was funny to go to other people's My Castles and just get illegal skills and weapons and stuff. And I don't know. It was like the funniest thing in the 3DS for me, and I'm sad it's going to be over. That said, simultaneously the worst part of the game was the real-time PvP fights. Those things were horrible because you would just you queue into it and you'd get paired up against someone who was hacking and had like a hack team of units because those are the only people who played because it wasn't fun for anyone else, and you were just dead on arrival. So on one hand, I'm sad because this is definitely going to lower the game's replayability and kind of take away what made it feel so unique, and that's a big downside. You can still play the game, but it's a big downside. But they also finally killed the monster that was like the worst PvP in the series. It was so bad. So you know what? All in all, it's a hit, but I think the game will survive. Side point, I'm so glad Mario Kart 7 and Smash 4 are dying online. Those things needed to go.
Hey everyone, it's me, Illialidur here, bringing you like a little short snippet of my part for this video here. I was graciously invited by Spoiled Goblin to partake in this particular video as a way to just, collaborate and shit, so, that's great. But what I wanted to talk about today is a game that I'm gonna miss from when Nintendo Online finally shuts off for 3DS and Wii U is gonna be Mario Kart 7. Now, when Mario Kart 7 first came out, I'm pretty sure a lot of people figured, what the hell, this isn't Mario Kart Wii? What is this? And stuff, because we just came off of Mario Kart Wii, and Mario Kart Wii was, like, great and stuff, but some people consider, like, Mario Kart 7 one of the weaker titles of the series. I personally can see it, but I actually do have a lot of good memories of playing Mario Kart 7 because it was actually my sister's game, and I would play it, borrow it from her, when I just play it. And my favorite part of it is when I remember there was that one exploit on Woohoo Island where people would drive off the face of the cliff right there, and if they hit it in just the right spot, they get teleported like to the final lap and stuff. And many a times I have seen it online where a bunch of people would just perform that same glitch, and I'm one of those people. Like, I even got like a good time on like time trials because of that. So, and I think I actually had a record for it, and honestly I don't remember much. I think someone probably already beat it, but for the longest time I think I had the actual record for that course for doing that glitch. I'm not entirely sure though, but I don't know. It's not like we're gonna be able to check it. I mean, like, what are you guys gonna do? Go check the online leaderboards and shit? I mean, it's not gonna be able to anymore. So yes, I am going to miss the online for Wii U and 3DS because, I mean, sure, it might not have been perfect, but at least it was free. Unlike today where we have to pay for a questionable connection for like $20 or less, like, I mean, we have to pay for it. It's ridiculous. But anyway, that's all I have to say about this. I'm gonna let everyone else get to their part of the video, but yeah, you guys have a great one. Thanks again to Spoiled Goblin for letting me on this and letting me talk about one of my personal favorites on the 3DS. Alright, thank you, take care, and I'll see you guys next time.
Luigi's Mansion 2, or Dark Moon to all the Americans who don't know how to count, is probably best remembered for its single-player campaign. But let me tell you, you haven't lived unless you've played this game's multiplayer side mode, the Scare Scraper. or Thrill Tower as it's known here for some reason. My brother and I sank hours of our lives into this. With 3 different modes, it's a blast running through each floor, gobbling up ghosts with a gaggle of Luigis. At the end of each floor, you have to rush to collect these coins for a special item, and the music gets super intense, like...
I did it!
In the first Luigi's Mansion, you could press A to call out for Mario, but in this mode they finally added Luigi to Luigi communication via the D-pad. Luigi has these really charming voice clips provided by the wonderful Charles Martinet, and not only do they really capture Luigi's character, but when you've got a full party going, you just get this symphony of Luigi's like,
Hey, hey, over here, help, over here, hey. Good job. Thank you very much.
Speaking of a full party, it would have been hard to get a full group of people who owned the game to play with you. Luckily, Luigi's Mansion 2 had Download Play. Download Play was a feature on the DS and 3DS where, if you or one of your friends had a single copy of the game, you'd be able to share what is essentially a multiplayer demo between the consoles. Man, I miss Download Play so much. Unfortunately, the days of being able to share a game locally with your friends are long gone, but this was an essential feature for the enjoyment of Scarescraper. My friends and I actually discovered a little known secret about the Scarescraper demo from Download Play. If you link up with your friends locally for multiplayer, your friends can then leave that session and play Scarescraper online. This means that if you don't have enough people for a full party, you can still create an online room and your friends who don't own the game can still join. Or your friends could join other people's games if they were tired of playing with people who suck. I don't know if this was intentional or if it's an exploit, but we used this to the fullest back in the early 2010s. Scarescraper did come back in Luigi's Mansion 3, but it just doesn't feel the same. I love Luigi's Mansion 3, but some baffling design decisions really hinder the experience. There are way less ghosts to collect, the randomly generated floors aren't well balanced, making them really unfair or too easy. There are cut modes, and while the new ones are fun, you can't choose which mode you want to play. Each floor is just assigned one randomly. The developer said this was to make things simpler, but I don't think options were really going to impede the gameplay here. Worst of all, Luigi's voice lines just don't have the same impact, and they cut 2 of them as well, making communication just a little bit harder. These were some major steps backwards, which just made playing Scarescraper not as fun. Luckily, however, you, yes you, will still have time to play the superior Luigi's Mansion 2 Scarescraper, even after 3DS Online goes down. That's right, as of Luigi's Mansion 2's port to Nintendo Switch, Scarescraper is coming with it. So please, get Luigi's Mansion 2 on Switch, and give this mode a try. You might even find me out there, and if you see me, be sure to say, hey!
Hello, my name is Calliope, and I wanted to talk about the online experience of Monster Hunter 3 and 4 Ultimate. MH4U was exclusive to 3DS, but 3U was on Wii U as well, but the port was identical, and save files were actually transferable through an app from the store, a feature also no longer available this year. Monster Hunter is a classic series that's had online multiplayer for as long as it's been around, 3 and 4 are no exception. What was interesting about 3U is it was the last game to feature the infamous underwater combat that everyone hated, which added, shall we say, another dimension to combat, pun intended, as you were able to move around in all directions while underwater. Which meant when you had to do the online-only underwater boss, Cadius, to progress through the multiplayer content, and it took like 30 minutes plus to kill the thing, good luck getting anyone to help you finish that quest, much less farming it for materials for the armor set. RIP Helios and Celine Z armor set. I never got it despite pulling anyone I could into my misery, trying to get the rare drop from the Horn to finish it. My personal woes aside, the big deal about losing online is so much of the content, including all the real in-game content, is basically online only as it scales for multiple people, which means so much of both of these games, including unique monsters and subspecies, will be next to impossible to access for most people. It's a real shame. At least most of those monsters are available in Generations Ultimate on the Switch, for however long that lasts.
Metroid Prime Federation Force is probably the second most hated game by the Metroid fanbase after, well, the obvious. That said, I really don't think the game deserves it. It came with 2 huge disadvantages. First, its release timing. The game released in 2016 was not only the first Metroid game in 6 years, but the first since Other M. For years, the Metroid fanbase had been met with a series that seemed to have no future. And then they got this spin-off game with a different gameplay style, where you don't even get to play as the main character. It just felt like a slap in the face from Nintendo. Honestly, if this game had released today, after we've had Samus Returns, Metroid Dread, Prime 1 Remake, and the announcement of Prime 4, it probably would have been looked on much more favorably. Its other issue just comes from how it plays. Much like Triforce Heroes, it's a game that technically has a single-player option, but doing so is a boring slog of one person solving puzzles meant for groups of 4 and overlong repetitive combat. Those issues go out the window completely when you play with a group of friends together to go on these missions. It is so much fun, and having played both ways, it really does make all the difference. From a story perspective, I actually think this is a game that a lot of people should play, as it seems fairly clear that the ending of this game is hitting towards what's going to happen in Metroid Prime 4. I won't spoil it in case you decide to go check it out, but I'm sure we'll see references to this game in the future. And now we just won't have it. I really hope that Nintendo ports or remakes this game for the Switch or its successor, much like they have Luigi's Mansion 2, so that Metroid fans will be able to give this game another try. As it stands though, it looks like we'll be losing the best version of this game in just a couple of months.
So Splatoon is a very unique game that shows that Nintendo knows how to do a team-based shooter that is very uniquely different than the usual Team Fortress 2 or Overwatch / Counter-Strike style clones. And using Miiverse integration, you could have your pause or post show up in the middle of a game or anywhere else, and you could also play online with friends in various unique ranked and modes and normal turf wars, as well as the Splatfest feature, which continues to this day in Splatoon 3. Professor Layton: The Azran Legacy was already a very fantastic game, but thanks to the Spot Pass feature, you could download an additional puzzle every day. I had so many memories of just going on for every week to download 7 new puzzles and play them periodically. This also applied to Miracle Mask and Layton's Mystery Journey, but Azran Legacy is the one I actually completed of them.
Fire Emblem Awakening had various forms of Spot Pass functionality, like bonus items and bonus teams. Most of these were pretty empty references to the rest of the series, since Awakening was supposed to be the last Fire Emblem game at the time. However, the bonus maps delivered via Spot Pass were something else. 6 new paralogs in which new and old characters could be recruited, and they are all around pretty good. I'd like to highlight a few of my favorites here. Seeing Walhart fight with the Shepherds in DLC maps is the closest I have gotten to something I wanted to see since finishing Shadows of Valentia, Alm and Marth teaming up to fight a greater threat. Considering Alm fought Grima too, this is a pretty good substitute. Emmeryn's sacrifice in the first arc of the game gets a lot more weight with her paralogue in mind. She doesn't just die, but has to live out her life with a great burden to bear, so her memories are forever gone per her ending. Priam is just classic fanservice, a descendant of Ike with their rotten Ragnar. As a big fan of the Tellius games, this hits all the right notes for me. Also fits well with Ike's ending where he goes off to explore new continents. Sadly, these characters are now lost to the ether, as the Spot Pass service has closed. People new to the still relatively obscure Fire Emblem franchise will not be able to experience this part of one of its more popular titles, and that is genuinely a big shame.
And that's it for this video. Thanks again to everyone who helped to make this video a reality. It was a pleasure working with all of you. And I hope that the many of you who are watching this video go and check some of them out. Even though we had so many people offer up their favorite games in this video, I'm sure there are still plenty more we're missing. So I also ask all of you to take to the comments, the Discord server, and anywhere else you can to share your favorite stories from playing on these consoles online. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see all of you soon.